In this video, I will talk about the various reasons why more women are attending and graduating college than men. Since about the mid-1980s, women have on average achieved a higher level of education than men. This gender gap is prevalent in many high and middle-income countries such as France and Mexico, but I will just be talking about this phenomenon in the United States. For the 2022-2023 school year, there were 3.8 million female common applications compared to only 2.8 million male common applications, about a 25% difference there. And once in college, men are about 20% more likely to drop out than women. In a few years, 2 women will earn a college degree for every man if the trend continues, and we are not too far off now. In this video, I will discuss the biological, cultural, and psychological factors contributing to this. One factor worth discussing is that the feminist movement, since its conception, has been tremendously focused on women's educational achievement. The idea that in order to be a strong, independent woman, you should complete a high level of education, which is generally thought of as 4 years of college or more, is very popular. Going to college as a woman is seen as the right thing to do to improve oneself, and is also seen as the morally correct thing to do because it aligns with the progressive vision of female self-empowerment since a time when women didn't go to college at all. This is all good, but it doesn't account for why women in America's colleges now outnumber men, which is a complete flip from the traditional norm. Some people will try to say that the modern schooling environment is politically hostile to men, making liberal feminist ideology the main reason for the gender gap in education, but personally I do not believe this to be true. There are many other way more important factors at play that I will examine in this video. One factor worth mentioning is that I believe there are more well-paying employment options that appeal to young men that do not require a 4-year college education. This includes things like working in construction, plumbing, and other manual labor jobs. 94% of contractors are men, and 99% of plumbers are men. While women could technically get these jobs too, it is outside of the cultural norm, and women face biological setbacks working in some of these jobs. Instead, it is the norm for women to pursue well-paying jobs with not too much heavy manual labor, which mostly happen to require a college education, such as working in the medical field or in education. Another important factor is that I believe colleges somewhat monopolize socialization for young adults of college-educated families in the United States. There are minimal ways for 18 to 24-year-olds of this social class to meet each other besides college. The social stimulus provided by college seems to be an especially appealing factor for women, and women are on average more socially competitive. For example, women are more likely to use social media that involve heavy social signaling for a peer-based audience such as Instagram. It makes sense that they will gravitate to the college environment, which simultaneously is the best regarded social community for young adults to be a part of and offer the largest volume of peer-to-peer social interaction that a young woman could get anywhere in the US currently. At least that's what it looks like. This is not to say that young men are not motivated to attend college because of the social opportunities. Of course they are, but they probably feel the desire to be part of the college social community less acutely than young women, especially coming out of high school, who more often might feel that attending the right college and finding the right community is practically a matter of life and death. This is one reason why women will try harder in high school and in the college application process so that they can be a part of their ideal social community. The social aspect of college could also help explain why men drop out of college at higher rates than women, because when women feel like dropping out, the idea of leaving college into an otherwise abysmal social landscape seems just terrifying. I believe that this is a relatively small factor because the quality of the social scene at colleges is mostly perceived as very strong and good at private schools and large public schools, and less of an element of community colleges. I believe this factor has the greatest effect on young adults who are going to college right out of high school, so it cannot account for the gender gap at all types of colleges and among different types of students. A very important factor is that girls go through puberty earlier than boys, and throughout the teenage years, girls' brains maturation is on average 1 year ahead of boys. Now, this may not seem like a big deal, but this discrepancy between the maturity levels of boys and girls in the classroom is huge. Having a more developed brain means you are more capable of long term planning and disciplined for long term goals versus short term rewards. This could play into why girls are better students at the 6th to 12th grade level because they are more willing to study for the long term goal of college acceptance and the abstract idea of achieving a well paying, respected career. Now, the most important factor is that boys are underperforming in the classroom environment starting at a young age and up through high school due to differences in temperament. This creates a negative feedback loop where young men are perceiving college and the classroom environment as unappealing and just not for them. Boys are more rambunctious on average and seem to have a temperament less suited for sitting at a desk starting at a young age. Girls are more agreeable with their teachers. Girls also score higher on average in conscientiousness, which is correlated with being a good rule follower at a young age, allowing them to excel in the classroom in comparison to boys. Girls outperform boys in almost all aspects of schooling. They spend more time studying, are less likely to misbehave, and get better grades. Women on average are more appealing college applicants due to these attributes and are more ambitious with their education dreams, applying to top tier schools at higher rates than boys. Men are more often perceived as bad students, and not just that. As boys get older and attend middle and high school, they are more likely to commit crimes in the school environment, like selling drugs and getting into fights. Girls participate in this behavior at a lot lower rates. It is to the point where schools like Stanford certainly practice an affirmative action type process based on gender, selecting slightly less appealing male applicants over their female counterparts in order to maintain a ideal 50-50 gender balance. Now, anecdotally, as a young American man myself, in our current culture and political climate, I don't see as much of a support system for young men pushing them to do well in school as I do for young women, who are pushed to get an education as part of our progressive culture. This is despite the fact that young men arguably are in more need of such a support system than women due to the biological differences in gender mentioned previously. In fact, there seems to be some heavy cultural sentiment working against men's success in the school system. Depending on the environment, studious men wanting to do good in school is seen as not masculine and the opposite of cool. Think the classic nerd stereotype. This all makes it so that a significant number of boys have a negative view of school in general and are less likely to want to continue their schooling in college. For example, this poll shows that just not wanting to was the biggest difference in reasoning between women and men for not getting a degree. Men also routinely say that college just isn't worth it in polls more than women do. This is likely because they are factoring in their dislike of the schooling system into their internal calculus determining whether or not college is worth it. I believe that boys' struggles in the classroom is the single biggest reason for the education gap between the genders. Boys become disaffected within the education system from a young age, which affects the rate of male college applicants and graduation tremendously. In conclusion, there isn't really one reason for the gender gap in higher education, but the most important factors stem directly from biological sex differences between men and women. This makes the core of the education gap very hard to solve because it is rooted in biology and not culture, or mostly in biology. I believe fixing the gender gap would require a large cultural shift to overcome this, or some sort of restructuring of the K through 12 education in the United States so that it could better fit the needs of boys while still allowing space for girls to do their thing. But I do not know what that would look like specifically.